In 2011, this happened while I laid new basement storage flooring. I used this storage space for years. Years of wear had worn down the flooring. I also noticed growing voids between tiers. Dust and dirt often become caught in these gaps, making cleanup difficult. No matter how hard I scrubbed, these stubborn stains remained. The floor was deteriorating, and now several planks were loose. Moving over the floor made a hard rubbing sound. After considering these difficulties, I decided to lay a new floor. After installing the new flooring, I cleaned up the storage area. Unfortunately, I tripped over a sharp nail while working. I fell to the floor in pain when my foot started aching. I went to the hospital immediately because of the risk of tetanus. I told the doctor what happened and exhibited my cut when I got to the hospital. He thought the wound was deep and could get infected. He vaccinated me against tetanus to stop its spread. My health declined the next day. I felt redness and swelling around the cut and was fatigued and dizzy. These reactions were unusual, which worried me. I immediately called my doctor to explain. My doctor said this could be a tetanus reaction. He advised me to return to the hospital for tests. In search of a cure, I rushed to the hospital. My hospital doctor told me I had an allergic reaction and an infected wound. He would give 2 penicillin shots. Doctor took syringe with penicillin solution. The medication stung when it entered my bloodstream. I tried to be calm despite the agony. The doctors closely monitored my reaction following the initial injection. They inquired about my allergies and suffering. Thankfully, the pain was low, and I had no serious side effects. After the second penicillin dose, everything changed. My head reeled and eyesight blurred. My body felt heavy, making it hard to sit up. My consciousness faded, and I fell. My consciousness blurred as the world around me darkened. A coma. Out of nowhere, I appeared in absolute black. Around me was full darkness and silence. In my pain, I felt weightless. I felt relaxed after this. Regaining consciousness, I observed the light while floating on the ward ceiling. Observing the room, everything on the ward seemed clear to me. My tongue spewed whiplash while my body shook. What I witnessed shocked and frightened me. The doctors and nurses kept performing artificial respiration, chest compressions, and CPR. In the ward, tensions were high. The nurse who gave me penicillin was in the corner, and I knew her. She appeared anxious and humiliated, as if in great trouble. I approached her slowly. I tried to reassure her. I put my hand on her shoulder and it slipped straight through her body without touching her. The realization hit me that I was already beyond matter. I could perceive my surroundings but not interact with the physical world. A doctor told a nurse we might lose him, and I overheard. This statement made me feel helpless and sad. I had no idea what happened next. A surgeon entered the operation room unexpectedly with a long syringe. The doctor quickly inserted the large needle syringe into my chest. The needle went directly into my ribcage when the skin was perforated. The doctor looked determined. He kept tuning the syringe to ensure a perfect drug injection. He moved gracefully and precisely. I was instantly transported to an unfamiliar room. Aged bricks and stone built the walls. Old frescoes were on the walls. The room included worn wood furniture. A battered book and quill were on the table. A room corner had a carved, intricate, patterned-back antique chair. A soft light illuminated the place. An unexpected visitor entered the room. I saw my aunt who had died 9 years ago. A delicate embroidery covered her long, pale blue robe. Her beautiful, lustrous hair cascaded over her shoulders like a waterfall. Joy filled her eyes as she smiled softly. Her face was wrinkle-free. Time seemed to have stopped. My mother perished in an accident when I was 3. Because our family was poor, my father had to work and couldn't always take care of me. My aunt offered to get me out of this jam. Gentle and sympathetic, she is. My aunt made me feel welcome as a child. I had many happy times with her as my caregiver. She was nice and reassured me like a mother. Her mentoring and many lessons helped me mature steadily. I gained freedom and strength by overcoming difficulties. I returned to my dad's side for primary school. She was one of my early influences and gave me a lot of resilience and fortitude. My aunt gently embraced me as she approached. "Auntie, I miss you deeply. My life has been without you for 9 years. How's it going?" My aunt smiled at my niece. I've been watching you. Oh, I love you. I lived a joyful life here. I recall that you were a bit uneasy when you initially arrived at my house, my aunt said as she stroked my shoulder and spoke directly to me. Are you more reserved in your new place? Recalling the scene made me smile and nod. Also, a funny incident came to mind. My aunt's residence was foreign, and I was still adjusting early in the day. My aunt made me a new bed. I rolled around in bed the first night trying to find a comfortable sleeping position. From nowhere, I fell from the bed onto the floor. My aunt laughed when she saw my silly face when she entered the room in fright. After falling off the bed, she imitated my expression, making the room chuckle. My aunt and I talked much. It's time to go back, the aunt said. Return to your father immediately. My aunt clutched my hand as we left, her worried eyes. My darling, you are now an adult and an exceptionally courageous and powerful young girl, he said. Find your father. He loves you and wishes you happiness wherever you are. Auntie, I will never forget your love and teachings. I smiled and tried to control my emotions as I looked up at her. I will always try. She said, keep in mind that my aunt will always be there for you, no matter where you are. As tears fell off my face, I nodded and we hugged, exchanging blessings and love. I left the room finally. I felt a strong tug to return after leaving the room like an unseen hand. I relaxed and approached it slowly. I felt like I was in a big vortex as this power helped me go back into my body. Since my eyesight blurred, I felt like I had gone on a weird experience. My consciousness slowly returned to reality. My pulse rate and blood circulation were noticeable when my breathing settled into a regular pattern. I was surprised to find myself on a hospital bed surrounded by doctors when I slowly opened my eyes. Standing by the bed, my father looked weary, smiled and called Dad. Taking my hand, he muttered, Son, you're finally awake, his voice quivering. Your health was my top priority. As he gently touched my cheek, my father seemed deeply loving. Dad, I saw my aunt, I smiled. She told me to welcome you. My dad said, Son, maybe you're just hallucinating. So he feigned to be horrified. Dad, this is not a dream or hallucination, I said. My aunt was very talkative when I met her. After considering, my dad listened. Next, he told his kid that his superiority may be due to earlier experiences. However much we mourn her, she has been gone for a long time. He added, Son, your experience matters, genuine or not. She helped us a lot and my aunt was important to us. She deserves eternal gratitude. The next day, a doctor visited my hospital room. From then on, I knew he was the long-syringe doctor. I looked grateful and thanked him. The doctor suspiciously said, This must be our first meeting. You must be mistaken. Doctor, I saw you during my near-death experience, however weird. I saw you rush into the surgery room with a long syringe. The day had to be shared. I described the event, which included floating above my body in utter darkness, as accurately as possible. The doctor said, This does sound fantastic, but we have many unanswered questions about near-death experiences. After thinking and breathing deeply, you may be having a unique spiritual experience. Thanks for sharing this. We know little about near-death experiences, a complex field. There's no standard experience. Any experience, real or imagined, helps you grow. I regarded the doctor's gentle, honest stare with thankfulness. This remarkable event inspired me to find meaning in life and be grateful. I shall continue.